Some time ago, there was a compound in Lagos where water had more power than the landlord, the tenants, and common sense combined together. The compound was called Peace Villa. But let me tell you, whoever named it Peace Villa must be joking because peace did not live there. Oh. Peace only passed by sometimes, heard people shouting over water, and continued on its way. The compound had more than 30 tenants, plenty children, two goats that behaved like landlords, and one tired tap standing in the middle of the yard like a small iron king. That tap controlled everybody's morning. It did not care whether you had work, school, church, mosque, interview, wedding, whatever it is. Once it started running, everybody ran with it. And once it stopped, your day will just stand still and look at you with pity. The worst part was that the tap only ran for 30 minutes every morning, as if it was doing charity work. And because of that, everybody woke up before daybreak with buckets, basins, paint containers, cooking pots, and even old coolers that had lost both handle and respect. Nobody laughed at the cooler because in that compound, once water entered the matter, anything like shame dey run comot. Every morning, the queue beside the tap looked like election day. Buckets stood in line before their owners even brushed. Some people put stones inside their buckets to hold position. Some tied ropes around the handle like the bucket was a stubborn goat. Mama Bisi even wrote touch and die on her bucket with red nail polish. And nobody tested her because Mama Bisi's mouth alone, it can shift destinies. She was a loud food seller who cooked for burials, birthdays, naming ceremonies, and even events where people wanted rice without selling their land. Like she was that good. Her stew had respect, but her mouth, it had no brakes. If she started shouting by 6 a.m., by afternoon she would still be on the matter. Opposite her room was Auntie Favor, a fine boutique girl with long lashes, shiny slippers, and one pink bucket she treated like a designer handbag. Favor always wanted to bath first because, according to her, a fine girl cannot go out smelling like yesterday's beans. Mama Bisi once said, if beauty and shakara could fetch water, Favor's buckets would have been overflowing since 1999. Then there was Chairman Tunde, the self-appointed controller of the tap. Nobody voted for him, nobody even begged him. One morning, he just came out with a whistle and began shouting, one by one, maintain order. And from that day, he promoted himself to Director of Water Affairs. He blew that whistle for everything. If bucket shifted, he go blow. If a child cried, he go blow. If goat passed near the tap, he go blow. One goat even looked at him one day like, Oga, rest. That morning, the compound was already awake by 4:30 a.m. Doors opened, slippers came out, buckets appeared, and children came outside with swollen, sleepy faces. One little boy sat beside his mother's bucket and dozed off. When Chairman Tunde blew his whistle, the boy jumped up and shouted, I did not steal any meat, oh. The whole compound laughed so loud. Omo, immediately the water started rushing. Everybody changed tactics. People who were greeting each other before suddenly became warriors. Mama Bisi shouted at her daughter to guard their buckets with her life. Auntie Favor moved closer to her pink bucket, claiming that she was only checking something. One old man came with a small cup and said he needed water to take medicine, but everybody shouted at him because in Peace Villa, small cup could become full bucket before you even blinked. Chairman Tunde kept blowing his yeye whistle until his cheeks gave up. Mama Bisi looked at him and said, Chairman, if whistle could bring water for this compound, we would have opened the dam since. Everybody laughed. But Tunde pretended not to hear her because authority must protect itself. By 5:15, Mama Bisi reminded everybody that she had a big cooking job that morning. A family had paid her to cook rice for a burial, and she needed water early because even mourners would still ask whether meat was complete. She placed her three big buckets near the tap and warned everybody not to try rubbish. Then she looked straight at Auntie Favor and said, some people with pink pockets and fake lashes should not use style to move near my water today because blood will flow. Auntie Favor adjusted her towel and smiled. Mama Bisi, rest in Jesus' name. Not everything is about you. You dey hear me? Mama Bisi laughed. My dear, if I dare to rest, this compound will steal my bucket and still ask me for money. People laughed again. But inside that laugh, everybody knew the truth. In Pace Villa, one bucket in the wrong place could scatter friendship, sisterhood, family ship, and everything ship. One person jumping queue could cause family meeting. One dry tap could make a grown man question all his life choices. So, when Mama Bisi went back into her room to prepare for her cooking job, she warned her daughter Bisi again to watch those buckets well. Meanwhile, Auntie Favor stood beside her pink bucket, looking innocent enough to fool only a newborn baby. Chairman Tunde lifted his whistle and announced that nobody should touch anybody's bucket. Oh, everybody nodded, but their eyes were moving up and down like security cameras because there, water was not just water, it was power. Water was survival. In fact, water was war in Daboski. My buddies, when Mama Bisi came outside, her buckets were no longer in front. They had been moved to the back of the queue, behind one broken basin, two paint buckets, Auntie Favor's pink bucket, and one dirty jerry can that looked like it survived the Civil War. Mama Bisi stood still. That silence alone made people afraid already. Then she shouted, who moved my bucket from first class to economy? Ha! People started opening their doors and coming out one by one. Children ran out with toothbrush in their mouths. Even the goats looked up because that voice carried police case. Shaman Tunde rushed out with his whistle hanging on his neck. Mama Bisi, calm down, let us investigate. Mama Bisi turned to him. See, Chairman, if you blow that yeye whistle near me this morning, I will use it to mismanage you. Don't try me. Tunde quietly held the whistle and respected himself. Then Mama Bisi saw Auntie Favor standing near the front of her pink bucket, towel on her shoulder, sunglasses on her head, even before sunrise. This woman, they wear sunglasses, and confidence that could annoy a dead body. Favor, Mama Bisi called her. Auntie Favor looked up slowly and answered, yes, ma. Did you move my bucket? Favor blinked like someone accused of stealing the moon. Why will I move your bucket? Because your pink bucket is now standing where my blue bucket was standing. Favor laughed. So, because your bucket is blue, it cannot travel. The whole compound laughed, but Mama Bisi tied her wrapper tighter, ready for war. Favor, do not use boutique English to confuse me this morning. My bucket was here. Your bucket was here. So, Nne, start explaining yourself before I scratch that your eyes. Remove those your fake lashes wey no dey help you see clearly. Favor dropped her phone. Hey, Mama Bisi, mind yourself. My lashes did not carry your bucket. You dey hear me? Mama Bisi clapped her hands and said, your lashes may not carry the bucket, but your hands carried it. Oh, so you think because your eyebrow looks like a road map, you can shift my bucket? The compound burst into laughter. Favor hissed and said, please, 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 Your bucket is not the firstborn of this compound. Stop making noise. Hey, that insult, eh? It entered Mama Bisi's chest like hot pot of garri without sugar. My bucket is not the firstborn, but your sense is the lastborn because it has refused to grow. People started shouting. One man nearly dropped his basin on the floor. Chairman Tunde tried to enter between them, but both women looked at him the same time and he reversed like a car that saw trailer. Before anybody could settle anything, the tap started running immediately. Everybody screamed. Auntie Favor quickly placed her pink bucket under the tap. Mama Bisi dragged it away and pushed her blue bucket forward. Favor dragged the blue one back. In that small struggle, water splashed on Favor's feet and she shouted, Mama Bisi, you poured water on me? Mama Bisi replied, thank God it is water. Oh. If it was stew, your leg would have become a party pack. And trust me, I go chop and comot. Then Favor grabbed one small bowl of water and splashed it on Mama Bisi's blouse. Here, the whole compound froze. Mama Bisi looked down at her wet chest, then looked up slowly and said, Smalley, you have baptized the wrong person. Before Favor could even shift, Mama Bisi dipped her hand inside her half-filled bucket and sent the water flying. It landed on Favor's face, lashes and sunglasses. The sunglasses shifted to one side, as if it had lost all hope. One boy shouted, Auntie Favor, your fine girl has entered rain. Oh. That was how water became a weapon. Favor splashed. Mama Bisi splashed back. One splash missed and landed on Chairman Tunde. His whistle got soaked, and when he tried to blow it again, it sounded like a tired duck begging to retire. What a glorious morning. Everybody was enjoying themselves. Premium entertainment. They were all laughing and enjoying when the tap coughed once. Then it coughed again, and then it stopped. Hey! Mama Bisi looked at all her buckets. One was half full. Two were empty and useless, standing there like witnesses when no one talk. Her burial contract flashed before her eyes, and immediately her phone rang. The woman who gave her the job was already angry. Mama Bisi, where is the rice? We cannot wait any longer. You promised us 7 a.m. Mama Bisi begged, but the woman cut her off. See, we are giving the job to another person. You don't know today is the burial. She ended the call. For the first time that morning, Mama Bisi couldn't shout. She just weak. She stood there, wet and heartbroken, while the whole compound kept quiet. Then she slowly turned and faced everybody. So, because of bucket shifting, I have lost my burial contract, Abby. Nobody laughed at this point though. Then she pointed at the dry tap and said, whoever moved my bucket will not know peace. If the person sleeps, buckets will be chasing them in their dream. If the person chop, water will finish. The person will not see water to drink. If the person enters bathroom, soap will enter their eyes. I swear, this compound will not rest until the bucket mover confesses. Hey, Chairman Tunde cleared his throat and said, Mama Bisi, it's okay. Let us handle this maturely. Mama Bisi looked at his wet shirt and dead whistle and said, Hey, Chairman, start by handling that your yeye whistle. It has drowned. People started laughing a little, but everybody knew that the matter had changed. This one was no longer ordinary tap cue. This was war. Auntie Favor gingerly carried her pink bucket away with her wet lashes and wounded pride. Mama Bisi carried her half-filled bucket like an evidence. After Mama Bisi lost her burial contract, Peace Villa stopped behaving like a compound and started behaving like a battlefield. Before that day, people used to quarrel over water and still borrow matches from each other later. But now, every bucket became a suspect. Every basin became evidence, and every tenant started watching their neighbor like a village CCTV. Mama Bisi did not forgive anybody. She told them that the person that moved her bucket will use tears and cook indomie. Ah, Auntie Favor too didn't rest. She kept telling people that Mama Bisi poured water on her because she was jealous of her beauty. Mama Bisi overheard it from her room and shouted that she wasn't jealous of any fake beauty that could not survive a cup of water. By the next morning, revenge carried its bag and entered the compound. Auntie Favor came out early and found her pink bucket filled with sand. Ha! This one no be small sand o. Full sand packed to the top like somebody wanted to start foundation inside it. Favor screamed, "Who turned my bucket to a building project?" Mama Bisi came out and looked at the bucket with fake pity. Hey, yeah, chai. At least your bucket has finally found purpose, unlike the owner. Favor pointed at her with anger and said, "You did this." Mama Bisi placed her hand on her chest. Eh? Me? My dear, I sell rice, so not cement. The whole compound laughed, but Favor was not laughing. She poured the sand away, washed her buckets with her last small water, and kept muttering that some people's village enemies had just relocated to Lagos. They shall see. That night, another madness happened. Somebody put a padlock on the tap. By 4:30 a.m., all the tenants came out with their buckets and met the tap locked like a prisoner. Chairman Tunde rushed out in his wrapper and almost fainted. "Who locked the public tap?" he shouted. Mama Bisi folded her arms. Maybe the tap is tired of serving wicked people now. Auntie Bisi hissed. Or maybe somebody wants all of us to smell together like them. Chairman Tunde searched for his whistle to control the crowd, but the whistle was missing. He checked his neck, pockets, and even inside his shoe. After some minutes, one child found it inside Mama Kemi's pot of ogbono soup, floating beside dry fish as if he came to enjoy life. Ha! Everybody laughed. Mama Bisi laughed the hardest. "Oga Chairman, your whistle has entered office canteen. Good for you." When Tunde washed it and tried to blow, the sound came out like a tired dog again begging for transport fare. From that day, nobody respected that whistle again. Oh. Even the goats ignored it with whole confidence. Meanwhile, the war continued. People started waking earlier and earlier. Some woke by 3 a.m., some woke by 2:30. One man woke by 2 o'clock and still met two buckets before him. Sure, he shouted that whoever dropped bucket there must be a witch because only witchcraft could move around that early. Then Junior, one small boy with sharp eyes and no conscience, saw a business opportunity. Sharp boy. He started collecting 10 naira from children to secure bucket space. He stood beside the tap with a stick, guarding buckets as if he owned a land there. When one woman asked who gave him authority, Junior said, "Chairman Tunde is water chairman, Abi. But me, I am assistant chairman for small, small buckets." Everybody laughed. But Chairman Tunde didn't laugh because even his fake government now had opposition. Now, just when everybody thought that the madness had reached its climax, Mama Bisi noticed water dripping behind Uncle Sunday's window. She moved closer like a detective in wrapper and saw a long hose connected from the compound tap, passing behind flower pots and entering straight into Uncle Sunday's room. Mama Bisi shouted, "So, why we dey here dey fight outside like rejected goats? Person dey carry water go inside im room?" The whole place exploded. Auntie Favour held her chest and said, "Kai, this one is betrayal with plumbing prowess." Chairman Tunde pointed at the host. "Who authorized this illegal connection?" Uncle Sunday rushed out, tied his wrapper with one hand and forming innocence with the other hand. He said he was only testing the pressure. Mama Bisi asked him whether he was testing pressure or stealing their destinies. Without wasting any more time, the tenants dragged the host out as if they were pulling a snake from a hole. That afternoon, Chairman Tunde called an emergency meeting, but the meeting became a marketplace. Mama Bisi accused Favor of bucket shifting. Favor accused Mama Bisi of water assault and pouring sand into her bucket. Tunde accused everybody of disrespecting his office. Junior complained that adults were spoiling his small business. Uncle Sunday kept saying that the host was a misunderstanding, but nobody believed him because the host had already confessed everything they needed to know. While they argued, Amara, a quiet student in the compound, stood by the corner, recording everything. She captured Mama Bisi shouting. She captured Favor waving her pink bucket. Chairman Tunde blowing his obono-flavored whistle. Junior collecting 10 naira from one confused child. And Uncle Sunday trying to hide behind his own guilt. That evening, Amara posted the video online with the caption, "Only one tap, 40 warriors." By night, the video had started moving. Shoo, people were laughing, sharing and commenting. One person wrote, "This tap needs police escort." Oh. Another one wrote, "Chairman Tunde is not even serious, but I respect his government. Twale." By the next morning, Peace Villa was no longer just a compound. It was online entertainment. Neighbors started passing by slowly to see the famous tap. One woman even came with groundnuts and asked whether Mama Bisi had started shouting again. Mama Bisi heard her and shouted, "Madam, this is not cinema. Go to your house." The woman replied, "I know, but your compound has season film." Ah, very sweet compound. Everybody laughed. But shame don dey enter small small. Their suffering had become public comedy, and the landlord had not even shown his face. The tenants were still blaming each other. By the next day, the video of Peace Villa had traveled farther than some people's visa application. Everybody online was laughing and calling it "only one tap, 40 warriors." Some people were even asking when the next episode would drop, as if the tenants were acting for Netflix and not suffering in real life. That was when Baba Ojo, the landlord, finally heard that his compound had become public comedy. He stormed in that afternoon with anger on his face and one old leather folder under his armpit, expecting everybody to fear him. But the tenants had suffered way too much. They surrounded him with empty buckets, dry basins, and faces that looked like hunger and dust held a meeting inside them. Baba Ojo shouted, "What is this nonsense I am seeing online?" Mama Bisi stepped forward. "The nonsense is not online, sir. The nonsense is standing in this compound with this iron lord of a tap." Auntie Favour lifted her pink bucket and said, "40 people, one tap. Baba Ojo, is your own house like that?" Chairman Tunde cleared his throat and said, "Even prison has better water arrangement." The tenants shouted in agreement, "Oh yes." But Baba Ojo only raised his hand like a retired headmaster. "My people, manage yourselves well. One tap is enough if you people have discipline." That sentence alone nearly caused earthquake. Mama Bisi clapped her hand and said, "Discipline? Hey, Baba Ojo, water no be stubborn pikin wey you go flog enter inside bucket. Shey you dey hear me?" Auntie Favour hissed, "Please, sir, do not use landlord English to oppress us." Baba Ojo frowned. You people like complaining too much. Every year I do maintenance in this compound, yet you people are complaining." Mama Bisi's eyes widened. "Maintenance ke? Where is it abeg? Is it hiding inside the tap? Abi na my eyes dey pain me." That was when Uncle Sunday, still trying to clean the shame of his host scandal, raised his hand and said, "But Baba, we pay compound maintenance levy every year now. Eh? Last year you said part of it was for water pumping servicing." Oh boy, everywhere became quiet. Chairman Tunde quickly opened his exercise book as if government work had finally reached his hand. Yes, we paid. Refuse, drainage, water pump, and small repairs. We paid now. Auntie Favor pointed at the tap and said, so, which water pump did the money service? This one that coughs like an old retired generator. Baba Ojo started sweating small. The money cannot do everything. How much is it? No be that small money wey una dey contribute. Mama Bisi moved closer and said, but it can increase every year, abi? Rent will increase, maintenance levy will increase. Only the tap remains poor and wretched. The tenant shouted again. Then Junior, the small boy, who had turned bucket space into business, shouted from the back. Na only Wasiu the waterman dey always come when tap spoil. Everybody turned. Wasiu was Baba Ojo's cousin. He owned a small water truck and always seemed to appear in the compound whenever the tap failed, selling water to tenants at painful prices. Before that day, nobody really connected it well. They only thought Lagos was Lagos, water was doing its thing. But now, the thing has started smelling like a bad fish. They have started linking the dots. Mama Bisi faced Baba Ojo and said, so, your cousin is selling us water because you refuse to fix the tap. Auntie Favor held her chest and said, wow, this is premium wickedness with family discount. Baba Ojo waved his hand and said, nobody forced you to buy from him? Mama Bisi laughed without happiness. Of course. Of course, because when the tap is dry and children need to bath, we should only drink advice and motivational speeches. Abi? Then Chairman Tunde pointed his dead whistle at him and said, Baba Ojo, this thing is not balancing, no. Even the goats stood near the tap and stared at the landlord like they too wanted an explanation. For the first time, Mama Bisi and Auntie Favor stood on the same side. The same women who had been pouring water and spit on each other now faced Baba Ojo with one mind. Chairman Tunde stopped forming office and joined them. Uncle Sunday quietly moved away from his host's shame and entered the protest. Even Junior stopped collecting 10 naira because the bigger thief had entered the yard. Baba Ojo had come to threaten them, but he had exposed himself by himself. The tenants finally understood that the real problem was the man collecting rent and maintenance levy from more than 30 people while one tired tap still ruled them like a wicked king. And from that afternoon, Peace Villa stopped fighting themselves. They turned and faced Baba Ojo squarely. That night, they held the quietest, most productive meeting in its history. Nobody poured water. Nobody insulted lashes. Even Chairman Tunde did not blow whistle anyhow because the whistle itself has suffered enough. Mama Bisi stood in the middle of the yard and declared, tomorrow morning, nobody will fight for water. Auntie Favor looked surprised and said, so what are we going to do then? Mama Bisi smiled. We are going to fight the person who made water become war in the first place. The next morning, Baba Ojo returned to the compound, thinking he would shout again and everybody would scatter like fowls. He came with his usual leather folder, his angry face, and that landlord confidence that made him believe tenants were born to fear rent increase. But this time, nobody even argued with him. Mama Bisi simply picked up one empty bucket and started beating it with spoon. Pam, 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 pam. Auntie Favor joined with her pink bucket, still looking fine inside suffering. Because some people can be under pressure and still apply lip gloss. Chairman Tunde raised his recovered whistle and blew it with all his strength. And even though it still sounded like a duck begging for deliverance, they managed it like that. Before Baba Ojo could even understand what was happening, the whole compound joined. Bam, 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 bam. Buckets became drums. Basins became talking drums. Paint buckets became local instruments. Children started dancing. Junior, who could not miss business even during revolution, started shouting, protest space, 10 naira, until Mama Bisi gave him one side eye and he behaved himself immediately. Baba Ojo shouted, "What is this nonsense?" Mama Bisi answered with her basin on her head. "We want water, not motivational speech." The tenant shouted, "We want water. We want action." One old woman at the back shouted, "And we want it before we start smelling like our family problems." The noise pulled some neighbors to the gate. Even passers-by stopped. Children from the next compound climbed blocks to watch. Amara, the student who posted the first video, brought out her phone again. And once Baba Ojo saw the camera, his boldness started losing weight. He tried to smile. "My people, let us talk like mature adults." Mama Bisi laughed. "Baba Ojo, maturity has been queuing since 4 a.m. and still did not fetch water. Abeg, leave that matter." Everybody shouted. Auntie Favor pointed at him and said, "You collect rent. You collect maintenance levy. Your cousin sells water to us. Yet, you are telling us about discipline. Sir, are we tenants or contestants in suffering competition?" Even the neighbors laughed. Baba Ojo looked around and saw too many phones recording. His face changed. This was no longer compound quarrel. This was public disgrace. He tried to walk away, but the tenants followed him with buckets, beating louder. He stepped back, and then, because of some water that spilled during the morning struggle, his slippers slipped on the wet floor. Baba Ojo's hands flew in the air like a man fighting invisible mosquitoes. And giddy bam! He landed inside Mama Bisi's biggest basin. For 2 seconds, nobody breathed. The basin swallowed him halfway. His folder flew open, and one rent receipt landed on his head like judgment from above. Then the whole street bursted into laughter. Junior shouted, "Baba Ojo don't enter water office oh." Auntie Favor covered her mouth, but laughter still escaped. Chairman Tunde blew his whistle in celebration, and this time it sounded like a dying trumpet, which made everybody even laugh harder. Mama Bisi looked down at the landlord inside her basin and shook her head. "Baba Ojo, you see your life? Since you refuse to give us water, basin has collected you." Nto. Amara's video entered the internet before Baba Ojo even stood up properly. By afternoon, landlord inside basin has started moving to everywhere. People were tagging him. Old tenants were commenting. One person wrote, "This is what happens when one tap is ruling 40 people." Ah! By evening, Baba Ojo's phone was ringing without mercy. His church members were calling. His landlord association chairman called. Even one prospective tenant who had wanted to rent the empty room called to say she had changed her mind because she was not ready to join Water Olympics. That was when Baba Ojo finally swallowed his pride. 2 days later, plumbers entered Peace Villa with pipes, tools, and serious faces. The old tap was repaired properly, and another water point was added near the back rooms. Baba Ojo also warned Wasiu, his cousin, to stop using the compound's water problem to sell emergency water, like suffering had become family business. The first morning the two taps ran together, the compound became quite in shock. Ha! People stared at the water as if heaven had opened a small branch in Lagos. Mama Bisi filled her buckets without pushing anybody. Auntie Favor filled her own pink buckets. Chairman Tunde stood between two taps with his whistle and announced himself as Director of Water Affairs, 2 Tap Division. Mama Bisi hissed, "Tunde, if you divide anything here, I go divide that your whistle." Everybody laughed. Peace finally returned to Peace Villa, but not perfect peace, because this was Lagos and people must still find small, small trouble to keep the body warm. Mama Bisi later got another cooking job and delivered the rice early, with meat complete and pride restored. Auntie Favor still woke early to guard her pink bucket because beauty might forgive, but Pink Bucket never forgets. Junior stopped collecting 10 naira for bucket space. As for Baba Ojo, he never entered the compound with too much pride again. Oh. Anytime he passed near Mama Bisi's basin, he walked carefully because once a basin has disgraced you in public, you must respect the basin forever. And that was how one tired tap, 40 angry tenants, one pink bucket, one drowned whistle, and one stubborn landlord taught Peace Villa a simple lesson. United we stand, divided we fall. The end. And with that, my paddies, we have come to the end of today's very interesting story. I hope you had a good laugh. Oh yeah, share this video to 5 different people you know. Make sure you like Don't watch without liking. And if you've not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. But please click that subscribe button because you are definitely going to love it here. Don't forget to drop your comments below so that we can gist and catch up. Until I bring another story your way. Ngwanu. Bye.